Welcome to BFF, Books, Fics, and Friendship. I'm Cal,
I'm Meg.
And I'm Kiera.
where plot twists lead and chaos follows. Today we're talking about Throne of Glass, chapters 1 through 25.
So yes, big spoiler alert. We will not be super censoring ourselves in what we're talking about. This is mine and Kel's first time, like fully reading through. And Kiera is over there being little miss in the corner.
I've read this through twice already. This is my third read through. So
yeah,
Yes.
it's been a fun one. Kiera has enjoyed the torture that we have been going through, especially
Yes.
with where we ended, chapter 25. Listen, if you're doing a read through of this, do not stop at chapter 25.
Yes,
Don't.
just continue going or stop at chapter 24 and then continue on.
You have to take a break. So just to let everybody know, like, how swatty I am, these two will tell you how swatty I am.
Yes.
This is my tabs for the first 25, and I didn't even really tab 24 and 25 because I was trying to read them fast enough.
Yes, I have very similar, like, this is how many tabs I have for the first 25 chapters, too. And I'm sure Kiera has more.
Oh, the pretty version!
Oh, yeah, I've got my pretty.
They're so beautiful.
And I only did the first, 5 chapters, and then I just haven't had time to actually tab.
Yeah. But I tabbed and, highlighted as I was reading through because I knew that I, would not return and tab them because I know myself. So what?
Well, I'm going through and I'm tabbing, and then I'm taking everything I'm tabbing and I'm putting into a Google Doc.
Oh,
in a chart.
For later things. This makes me so nervous.
Y'all want to laugh at me and call me swatty. Okay, whatever. No.
I mean, we say it out of love.
I know. It's the whole server. It's okay. I know.
It's so weird every time I reread it because the vibe of the first book is so different from the ending and where you end up. It's just such a different feel. It's so weird.
Well, so there's 7 books total, right?
8.
8. Okay. I was like, I can't do math today. It's okay. So she took what, almost a decade to put them all together? Maybe more?
I honestly don't remember what the timeline is between the start and finish. I know that she started writing Throne of Glass when she was 16, put it on the internet, and then people were like, you could get this published. And I think she took it back off and then spent several years working on turning it into what it is.
Yeah, so this Throne of Glass says that it was first published in the US in 2012, but then she does I can't think of words now. In the address, she does say to all my readers from Fiction Press. Yeah. So I figured that's where she originally published it. But I was just thinking between this one being published and what's the last one? Tower of Dawn?
The very final one is Kingdom of Ash.
Kingdom of Ash. Okay. Yeah, between those being published, I wasn't sure how many years passed.
So yes, Throne of Glass was published in 2012 and Kingdom of Ash was published in 2018. So
6 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's fast for how much there is.
Well, you gotta think she's been working on this since she was 16
yeah.
though.
Did Assassin's Blade come out after Kingdom of Ash?
No. I think she published it in the order that she tells people she should read it, which is the first Throne of Glass, Air of Fire, and then
Assassin's Blade, right?
Blade. Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure because I knew it was technically a prequel, but
yeah.
Maybe she didn't publish it that way. I'm not 100% sure, but that's how she recommends reading it.
So she published that in 2013.
Okay. Yeah, so that would be...
Yeah.
So I bet you she had 1 and 2 already plotted out because of writing on Fiction Press and everything. And then those first couple books come out pretty easily. And then, you have about a year stretch between the other ones, I'm sure. So it makes sense. A lot of people plot out their whole like series, and like you know where you want to end up, and so then it makes it kind of easier to do those quickly.
And if this has been in her head since she was 16, she already had like a
Yeah.
billion different directions it could have gone.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's crazy that this started out as something at 16. Like,
It is. It's like the definition of like starting something just because you kind of like it, and then it really turning into like a full-on passion and your career, right?
why couldn't that have
It's
happened
crazy too because of it's so big when you look at Akatar and Crescent City. It's
Yeah.
so big, and it's crazy that it all started with just like this
Yeah.
cute,
Just
cute
like,
little story. Like, it's,
yeah.
to me? And it wasn't even like, it was just like, let me just put it online. Like, I'm just going to publish online, like, just to see what people think.
Yeah.
And then, like, everybody, like,
Yeah.
loved it.
which is what we're seeing so much of right now with all of our favorite fics that are being published this year. That's so
Yes.
I still gotta pre-order Alchemized.
Yes, I do too. So we'll remind each other. Like,
Yell at me next Friday.
I gotcha. All right. So, Kiara, you had some questions that you wanted to ask us, right? Regarding the first 25 chapters.
Yeah, okay. So my first thing was I kind of wanted your guys' like rapid fire impression of like some of the characters.
Ooh.
Specifically, obviously, Selena, Dorian, Kale, and Keltane. So who
Do you wanna
wants to
go
go
first,
first?
Yeah. Helena's a badass, of course. I mean, like, she's, what, 19? 18, 19?
She's
Yeah.
18.
18.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
so-
there's 2 years between her and Dorian and 4 years between her and Kale, right?
No, Dorian's 19.
Is he?
Yes.
I thought he was 20. I know Kale is 22.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kale's 22. Hold on, I have it written down somewhere.
Yeah. I think he is
I was
19.
like,
He might be 19. I could be.
I know he's,
confusing
yeah,
them.
okay, so Kale's 22, Selena's 18, Dorian's 19. Okay, so
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
You find that out whenever he's talking to his mom about at court and brides and wedding and marriage and stuff. But anyways,
I did have that like highlighted. I just didn't look back to double
yeah.
check.
So, well, I wanted to get an idea of how old everybody was. So I started writing down like how old they were, and then like you have to wait like 10 chapters to get how old Dorian is. I was like, what the crap?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah.
Anyways, so yes, Selena's a badass. I mean, she's 18, and she's like the most famous assassin in the land. Even though they don't know it's her, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't know her name, but anyways. And then Kale and Dorian, I love them both. I think they're both adorable in their own way. Kale frustrates me a little bit. Dorian, I just feel bad for too, like innocence, because at the very beginning, like I got the same kind of vibe that like he's bored, kind of thing. Like he's bored and alone. And do I have to talk about Kale? Do I have to? No. Literally every note I have, I don't like her, I don't like her, I don't like her. She's a sneaky snake.
Yes. Yeah. I would say very much the same. Like, I love Selena. I think she's a total badass. I think she's been through so much, like, already. And just like the snippets of the background that you get of her, you're like, damn, girl. Like, I definitely think that there's like something more to her, because like they talk about her like being related to witches and like being a witch. And then they also talk about like I noted like in the salt mines in like the first couple chapters, it says something about her lasting a year when most people last like less than 3 months. And so then I was like, is this
It's less than a month.
Oh, less than a month. I was going to say, I know it was like a very short timeline. And so like one of my first theory questions is like, okay, is this like alluding to her being like supernaturally stronger, like because she's got magic, or is it because like they're invested in keeping her alive, which does kind of get answered a little bit later, right? Like they do kind of keep her.
She does say in around those chapters, so it starts off, she's in the mines, they pull her out, they give her the proposition, and they mention like you've lasted a whole year, and she says like when she explains that she tried to run
Yes, yes. They did say
They
like,
refused to kill her, and so like it's not just because of her strength that she's alive. It's
well, yeah. So,
they're
so
keeping
that's what
her
I said.
alive.
Yeah, like I had
Yeah.
one of the theories. So basically, like anytime I had a question, I just like wrote it down and was like, "Is this a theory?" And then because I figured I like could come back to it later if it was answered. And so then, kind of like you said, like she does explain that most people only get like 3 feet from their hole, their mine, and that she got like 300 feet to the wall before anything happened. And like that to me is like, okay, they're keeping her alive for a very specific reason. And like she doesn't know it yet, but they know, or they have like a suspicion of like what she is or something to that effect. So I do think like there's a lot more to her character that like maybe she doesn't even know about yet. And like obviously we as readers don't know about yet. That'll be like kind of released to us in tidbits. Between Dorian and Kale, I like both of them. I think she's definitely setting us up for like a love triangle type vibe. I put a note in there that I think that we're like going to somewhat get Tamlin, where like you think, I don't know with who though, because I'm trying to figure out like, I think she's setting us up for Dorian and Selena to be together and like Kale to kind of be like this side character in the background. But I think like at some point there's going to be like another character that comes in that she's actually going to end up with, and like you're going to think that her and Dorian are perfect together, and then there's going to be some like big twist, kind of like with Tamlin, where you're like, actually you're a piece of shit. But like I also put in that note, I was like, I know Fairy loves Dorian and she loves Kale, so I'm like, I don't know I don't know which one.
It's
And I
hard.
don't
I
know if
do
it's
love the
actually and I was like, I don't know which one if this happens, and I don't know like if it's even one of those two, because like it could be technically another character that comes in that she gets with first, and then she ends up with Dorian or Kale, right? Like it could be either of those scenarios. And then I don't like Caltane either. Like I think I don't know. I just get like bad vibes.
I do kind of feel bad for her. Like I did start feeling bad for her toward the end of what we were reading because just because of the Duke. Like
Her being
he's
engaged to the
creepy.
Duke, or
Like
not
that
engaged,
whole
but
situation, like I feel bad for her because it's very reminiscent of kind of what we see, like especially in Harry Potter, like with like the Sacred 28, like you go marry this person
Yeah.
because that's what's expected of you kind of thing. And I just like I do feel for her, so I kind of can see where she's coming from. But girl, there
She
are better ways
strikes
to do
me
it.
Yeah, she strikes me as very power hungry, and she strikes me as like having like lots of ulterior motives, and
Yes.
that even though the Duke is like really creepy and like kind of gross, like she is definitely using him,
Oh,
and she's
100.
using it to her advantage, and I think like she kind of knows that, and she's got some sort of like, I think it's more than just her wanting to marry well and like be a part of the
yeah.
royal
I mean,
family.
she clearly wants to be with Dorian. I
Yeah,
mean,
like,
Obviously.
but I
Well,
think
to
it's
be fair,
more than
most
just
of the
him being a
females do.
prince. Yeah, I think it's more than just him being a prince. I think it's more than like her being a part of the royal family, because I think she's got something going on where she like needs to be in that position of power for some
mm.
reason. So that's like my initial kind of like thoughts on them.
So, some of the things that I wrote down for like just like character traits and development and stuff. So, like for Selena, she's always like they build up her background of like being an assassin. She's constantly like aware of her exits, like
Oh yes, yeah.
and
Yeah.
then at the same time, she's such a girl still, and I love that so
Yes.
much. Like she's so
Yes.
excited to be dressed up, like
Like that
like
interaction with her and Kale, like there's a part I actually have that marked where Kale was like they were eating and like he's struggling with realizing like she's actually like a human. Like she's
yeah.
not
Yeah.
she is a fearsome assassin, but like she's a girl.
Mm-hmm.
I
Like
also
she's
like that like she's admiring like dresses and stuff as they're coming
Yeah.
back to the
yes.
city and back to the castle. She's like, ooh, I can't like wait to be in pretty dresses and like pretty
Yeah.
jewelry, and it's just such a girl thing to
I
do. Like,
know.
like to just be like, like I miss being dressed up nice, and like I
Yeah.
miss wearing like pretty things, right?
Yeah.
So I do
And
really like that about her.
I feel like her empathy also runs so deep with, especially with like the slaves and stuff. Like as she's
Yeah.
leaving the mines, she gets like really choked up about leaving all those slaves behind and getting to leave. And then
Yeah.
when she meets the
Well,
king for the first time,
yeah.
she's like just filled with rage and
Yes.
and then when they're going into the city, like you mentioned, she sees all those slaves on the ships and stuff, and she says she just wants to like tell them like, I'm not with them, you know, like I'm with you. And then she meets Nehemia, and it's the same thing. She'd heard whispers about Nehemia like being like helping rebels and stuff.
Yeah.
I also love their friendship too.
Oh my God, it's one of my
Yes.
favorite things ever. Like especially that
I
part
love
whenever it's like right before, I don't know how to pronounce it, but their feast thing that they're doing, like it's like their religious day type thing.
Yeah.
And they're walking along right before the big thing we talked about a minute ago, Kel, before we started this, that we'll talk about again in a bit. I don't want to jump there yet, but like, and then Dorian comes up and they're talking and they start speaking in elf to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And Kale was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you should see him when they really get going."
Yeah.
Because he's with them all the time. I'm just like, I love that.
I'm loving with Kale. I'm loving the banter like the whole time. Like, whenever
You don't like salmon? You don't like
do
fish?
what? Oh yeah.
You don't like
Whenever,
fish? You smell like one.
yeah. And then whenever he even goes to like get her from the slave mines in the beginning, she's like staring him down, thinking about all the ways that she could kill him, and he's like, "Don't look at me like that," and it just made me laugh.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And then Dorian. Sorry, go ahead.
I love their banter.
I love
like
Dorian.
I think it's so funny. And I kind of like Kale is really setting you up for like the true kind of like enemies to lovers, right? Because like he genuinely sees her for the threat that she is and like respects her for the threat that she is. I think that's another like really important part of that, right? Because like especially Kale, like being the leader of the guard and like having experience in combat and like kind of knowing all about that, like he takes her title of like Indarna's assassin very seriously, and he like knows like how much of a threat that she is. And so then like him kind of being very wary about her in the first place, and then like you get these tidbits of him being like, oh, but she's like kind of cute. Like,
yeah.
like,
whenever they go to meet the king and he looks at her, he's like, "Selena, you look really pretty today." I was like, stop it.
Just like giggling and just like kicking my feet because I was like,
also
I
giggling because you just said Andarna instead of Adarlan.
oh my bad.
Like Andar, fourth wing. Wrong world.
You can tell where my mind is right now.
I did. It's chapter 7, but I don't remember where. I wrote down, I was like, why do I feel like threats of violence are foreplay material for them? Because they're constantly like threatening to hurt each other. Like they're constantly talking about like, I could do this to you, but I could do this to you. I'm just like, okay, guys, we get it.
It's like foreplay at this point.
100%.
Crucio is foreplay.
Yes.
Favorite tag.
Shout out Brianna.
And then Dorian, I just love him. He's such a flirt. He's so funny.
He's so
whenever he like kisses Selena's hand in front of Caltaine.
Like, oh yes. Oh, I was like, yes, please.
So many. I was like, there are so many like giggle moments.
Letters to each other were so cute too.
Yes.
I love that.
I definitely
like, oh my gosh. And then Kel was like, you can't write him letters.
She's like, why not?
Why?
Well, like I definitely highlighted. Oh, go ahead.
Whenever he goes into the room after the feast, and
that was the part I was just at. That's why I was
like, Kale walks in. He's like, "You can't be in here." He's like, "Why are you in here?"
yes, yeah. Because like, I definitely highlighted like my most true assassin, like how he addresses her, and then also that he signs most affectionately, and I was like.
I literally put hearts around it.
No, literally like me screaming. And I just like their banter as well, right? Because like I think he is really trying to connect with her, kind of like, so kind of like what Meg said, he's like bored and nobody really understands him. And like, he's known as this ladies' man who just kind of goes through all of these girls. But I think part of that is because like the girls just want Prince Dorian. They don't want Dorian. And so I think he's like trying to really connect with her like on an intellectual level and like sharing the books and being like, hey, like, I am more than just this prince, and like I do have thoughts and ideas and like my own like perspective on things. And like I think that's why he's so interested in Selena, because like she does not give a shit that he's a prince. Like
No, like she stands up to him. Like I was just sort of just gonna say, like she just, I don't care.
yeah,
Even
so
in the
she
very
is,
beginning when she refuses to bow and then Duke Carrington shoves her down.
Oh my gosh, and he was like, "That's meant
He
to be a
stands
symbol."
up for her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was.
he stands up for her and he's like, I think she's been humiliated enough. I was like,
Oh,
yes,
no. And then when they actually see the scars, though, like
I know.
that's
Ugh.
so sad. I do want to say on that note, I really, like, really, really, really respect SJM for painting Selena's anxiety as being such a prominent part of her being right
Yeah.
now, and like all the PTSD stuff that she's got going on. Like, I think
Yes.
it's, oh my God, I think it really helps, especially build up that empathy, like show us where that
Yeah.
empathy comes from, and it's beautiful and it's heartbreaking. Like,
Yeah, I think she did a really good job of like one, like having very rounded characters, right? Like that have gone through these traumatic events and have the like negative connotations of those traumatic events, right? So PTSD and anxiety, and like the fact that she's still so aware of like her position and kind of like what's going on and everything. And like you can tell like she really sees herself in others, right? So like those slaves and stuff like that, she sees what she's gone through, and she knows that like she even had it better than some of the other slaves. And like, so then you just see, and that's reflected in her empathy for those. And then like, you know, kind of that feeling of wanting them to be sure to know that like she's not with the oppressors and like kind of things like that, right? Because she's like, I've been there, I know what you're going through, and I know how shitty it is, and like I don't want to be associated with any part of that kind of thing. So yeah, SJM does a great job writing her characters.
and they're only
really
going
does.
to get rounder and rounder.
Rounder and rounder. That's great. No, it is. She has got some really well-rounded characters. Like from the get to like, it's not something that she has built up over 3 books to get them to this position. Like this is how they start. But one of my favorite things that I saw that really showed like a different side of Selena. Not that there hasn't been many, but specifically with her and Kale, she remembered his brother's name.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
that's important. Like that is an important
Yes.
thing for somebody, like her to do. Like it was just so natural for her. Well, you told me. Why wouldn't I remember that?
Yeah, and I think it like goes to show just like her level of empathy as a whole, because right, like she's not supposed to care about Kale.
Right.
And she's
But she
really
does.
like, yeah, but like Kale and Dorian are really just like a means to her freedom at this point, right? Like they're not really supposed to be people that she cares about. She's not really supposed to like
Want
be
to be around
invested
them.
in them, yeah, and like stuff like that. But like it's so easy for her to be like, okay, you told me this thing, and like I'm going to remember it because you told me and it's important, right? And like I'm just gonna squirrel that away, kind of thing, right? And that just shows her kind of like as a person, right?
Right.
I was also curious what all you picked up on about her background so far.
I have so many.
So much. So much. Like my thing is just who fucking betrayed her?
Yes.
That's
Okay.
what I want to know. That's my biggest thing. And it's like, and then like we got the Sam stuff
Yes.
too. Like, which that was a heartbreaking thing. And like I marked that as like a strong emotional reaction from me. Like I didn't cry or anything, but like it broke my heart. And like that quote, like at the end where the sound saved and forgave her or something like that. Just at the end of that paragraph before it switches to Dorian coming in and listening to her play the piano. I was just like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. Like,
And her, like, yeah, the piano playing and thinking of Sam.
Yeah. So I obviously kind of like noted that. I also like really noted that she was pretty young when she came to, do you pronounce it Arobin?
Yeah, I
Is that
say
how you pronounce his
Arabin.
name? Arobin. So she was only 8 and like he found her in the river. And then the other thing I noted was like he seems like a very like harsh and kind of unforgiving mentor, because the note is like in chapter 5 it says he had never said it out loud, but if she'd refused his offer to train her, he would have handed her over to those who would have killed her, or worse, right? So to me that was like she kind of knew that the stakes were very high for pleasing him and like being successful as his mentee, and so that just kind of like goes up to the life that she kind of grew up with. And then you know, having so much like PTSD. So like they talk about the fires that raged through her 8th and 9th years, the smoke of burning books, being consumed by the flames, and like many of the magic users who hadn't been burned wound up prisoners in Endare, and didn't survive long there. So and that she had abilities. She said the memory of her abilities haunted her dreams. So that to me was like, okay, she knew from like very, very young that these were traits she needed to hide, and like she needed to really succeed as a mentee for Arobin. And she mentions the betrayal, and then I thought at first that it could either be Arobin or Sam, but then she says Sam was betrayed as well. So that to me, it really feels like my theory behind that is that Arobin was like upset with her relationship with Sam, and that he's the one that betrays her, because she says like she didn't trust very many people. And I feel like it really would be like her mentor and maybe one other person that she would. And so I feel like it's him. Like that's how I feel. But like it could be someone that we're not introduced to yet as well.
Yeah.
yeah, there
Something
was
else.
something. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, this one little paragraph here about Arabin, where it's her thoughts, and she says both she and the prince had grown up under strict, unforgiving fathers. While father figure in her case, Arabin had never replaced the father she lost, nor had he ever tried to. But at least Arabin had an excuse for being equal parts tyrannical and doting, and that just
Yes.
really stuck out to me.
Yes. I also
It's like
kind of
very
noted
Ooh, also,
there's
whenever she was talking to Kale about, or was it Kale or Dorian that she was talking? No, it was Kale that she was talking to about having to pay every cent back that he spent on her. What was it, 500,000 gone in 3 hours,
yes.
something like that.
Yes, yes, yes,
It was a
yes.
very
It was
exorbitant amount. Like,
it was a
yes,
significant amount and then spent very
spent it
quickly.
all
Yes,
in
yes,
3
yes.
hours.
Yeah. I did kind of note the same thing. And then I do have a quote about, you know, like to Dorian from his father. You know, the son or no son, I'm still your king. You will obey me or you will pay. I'll have no more of your questioning.
I hate
So like
him.
that to me, yes. But that to me was like, okay, so not only are you mirroring like his father and your father to father figure, right, together, but then like you still see the extent of how much that relationship like doesn't really mean anything to them, right? Like you're just another disposable heir kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? Like because especially in Dorian's case, right, he has a younger brother that could, you know, take up the realm. And so, oh, the other thing that I was thinking was if it's not Arobin, I'm thinking he might have had another mentee that's like under him that might have
So they do
betrayed.
mention that he runs an assassin's guild. And like,
Yes. Yeah.
so there's definitely a lot of them.
Okay.
Also Holland, is it Holland, or I think it's Holland, the
Holland.
younger
I think it's
brother.
Holland. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
My like mental picture of him in my brain is Joffrey from Game of Thrones. That's who I think
yes.
of when I think of him.
I was actually going to ask if either of you had watched Game of Thrones
I haven't watched
because
it all, but yes, I
I
yes.
do kind of get Daenerys vibes from Selena, like, you know, kind of like
Yeah.
being a slave, like trying to free them, like knowing all of these languages and like communicating with other people because of that. And then like it just kind of does feel very similar. Although I think that they'll like shift very, very differently. But yeah, I also think like one of the other things, like we've talked about already, like how much she just hates the king and like hates how much like she hates how much of a hypocrite that he is, right? Because like she got sentenced for killing people, but he's killed way more and like for less reasons, and like
he's conquering all these other lands, and
and like she just sees him as like a horrible person, which I agree, but you know,
I mean, he's the reason that Holland can't come home. Like even like the Queen said that to Dorian. She was like, "If your father would let me, I'd have him home."
Yeah, but also I think like Holland's like a little shit, so I think like he's.
But what if Holland's a little shit because of the damn king? Let's just get rid of him and bring Holland back.
Yeah,
like
I think that to me was like very much kind of, again, going back to like Joffrey and like Cersei, that's her name. I couldn't think of it. Like, you know how like in Cersei's eyes, Joffrey can do no wrong and like he's a perfect angel. Like I kind of feel the same vibe between the Queen and Holland. Like she's like, oh, he's my baby boy. Like he can't do anything wrong. He's like faultless, and really what he did was like not that big of a deal. I want him home. I don't want him sent away to school. And like I think the king is like, well, he's going to ruin my reputation and he's going to like cause people to revolt. And because he's like, because you see like kind of the atrocities that are permitted under his, you know, like rule with his son. And then I think because he's trying to conquer all of these different lands, he's like, I can't afford for people to like dislike me, because if they realize that they can like rise up together, like I'm fucked. Like, so I definitely think it is selfish in the king's like viewpoint of keeping Holland away, but also I do think like it's not entirely selfless that the Queen wants him back either. Like I think she kind of excuses his behavior a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, even Dorian is glad that he's gone too. In that same moment, he like you get that picture of his thoughts. Like, as long as he's away, like everything's okay. Like he needs to stay gone. I'm just like that. But
one other tiny thing that I just feel like isn't like important that just gets mentioned in like the first chapter or so is so in Dovier, you know, the slave camps and stuff, she says that like the majority of it is made up from the people of Elway. And Nehemia is like the princess of Elway.
Yes.
Yes. And that I just feel like Elway is like a really important place to feel like I should mention it because it talks about so many different places. Like
and I actually did catch that though, like especially like with Nehemia still being there, like being there for as long as she said that. So she's like she'll be there till spring.
Yeah.
Unless something else comes up, like as far as like marriage and stuff.
The first time I read it, I was like, just kind of like, ooh, this feels dangerous. Like you're like in like all of your people are rebelling and being thrown into this guy's slave camps, and you're here in his castle. Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I also wanted to note that like not just that they seem to make up a lot of the slaves there, but that they are just slaves in general, right? Because when Selena and Nehemia first meet and Selena is talking to her in LY, she asks her, like, how do you know it so well? And Selena originally says that she learned it from a book. And then Nehemia says, you speak in the intonation of peasants. Like, is that also taught to you in books? Like, bitch, I know better. Shut up.
Mhm.
Like, tell me for real. And so then she's like, yeah, Selena goes, I knew it. How do you pronounce it? Elway?
Elway.
I would say
Elway.
Elway.
Yeah.
Okay. Elway woman who taught it to me. And then the first thing that like Nehemia says is a slave of yours. And like, she's kind of very firm with it. And like, even Kale picks up the fact that like the tone shifted, even though he doesn't understand what they're saying. And Selena very clearly like says, no. Like,
Nope.
I'm not like that. So that to me is like, not only is it just in these salt mines that they're, you know, subjected to this horrors, but like that they are being taken as slaves in general.
Yeah.
And that Nehemia is like very opposed to that. And so then that goes further to like show that she's rebelling and kind of like, you know, her position and stuff on that. So yeah, because then she also comments that then you are very unlike your court companions, because she said she doesn't believe in keeping slaves, which again just kind of goes to like show the difference of Selena and the people that she's around and everything. So
yeah, I'm just so excited to learn more about Selena.
Yes, I am too.
I was looking for something specific a minute ago when we were talking about earlier chapters, but I couldn't find it. But like, one thing I noticed that I thought was really interesting, it was whenever they were in the woods and she wakes up on their way back from Endovir and there are flowers.
Yes.
And
yes.
like infant-sized footprints. And then like later on page 49, like the king is talking to Dorian and says, I'm not playing. This is not a game. Though she may look pleasant, she's still a witch.
Yes.
Like, what?
I marked those as well. Yeah. Like I really was like, ooh. Like,
yes. And then, because the spot that I was looking for was like a thing, it says like a dead space in her chest felt empty or something like that. Like, something, I can't find it. I'll have to like find it and like text it to you guys later. But like, I remember seeing that. I was like, that's really weird. And that's really poignant, like for her to like recognize that there's like a piece of her in her chest missing.
Yes.
And then the 24 or 25, like all that, like everything that happens between those two, like
I marked that entire chapter as just like a big foreshadowing, like a big theory, like chapter, because it was like literally if I was to highlight, I would highlight the entire fucking chapter. So I just like extra marked it with like my tabs because I was like, ooh, this is like a really, really important part of like not just the world building, but like Selena and like her background and like a ton. And
then like right before that, when which we'll go ahead and talk about it, I guess, with Kane at the clock tower and the what are they called, the word mark?
Yes. Yeah, word marks.
Okay. Sorry, my dog decided to stand up and shake. I don't know if y'all heard that. But yeah, like, and then like Nehemia was telling her about them, and then like she was looking really weird at her after the fact. So I'm just like, what in the world is going on? Like my whole theory that I was going to talk about, my only one theory real quick, was with the tapestry and like her walking, the breeze, magic.
Yes.
100%. The breeze was magic.
So
because it says it disappeared of its own accord.
Yes.
So that means it can reappear whenever it feels safe.
Yes. I also feel that way. Like with the whole Kane thing, I already told Meg this, like when we were talking just a little bit earlier, but like I marked that pretty heavily. And then I literally wrote like in my note, Cardi B, that's suspicious, skip. Like, because literally like that's what was going through my head while I was reading this. And then I said, I think the tower has magic imbued in it, or like someone hiding in it. And Kane is offering, like, giving offerings, and whatever this is responsible for the other champions dying so mysteriously. Like, because first of all, them fucking writing that off as like just them dying when like it's like
Their brains are going missing. Like,
yeah, it's like their body is ripped to ribbons, and like these like gruesome kind of like descriptions of how the bodies are found, and I'm like, that's not just like you found a dead body. Like that's
not
like
just an
something
assassin
happened.
killing somebody. Like there's something else going on.
And then the other thing I noted on that same page was like when she's asking about the word marks, and then Nehemiah says, you should leave it alone. Some things were forgotten for a reason.
Yes.
Like that to me even like furthers that like they're not necessarily used for like good things. Like they're kind of like not great. And then so like that's what I have for those. And then I did mark the tapestry as well. Like I thought that was very significant, right? Because like not only that, but like it's not very carefully preserved, which makes me think like someone kind of didn't want it to still be around. And then obviously we find out that the woman is like Queen Elena, and like why that's so significant.
And she ends up at the feast. That pissed me off.
Yes,
Taylor at the feast. Remember, because Dorian and Kale were like, "No, you can't come," and then like she ends up there because of the tapestry passageway, and she sees them all just chilling.
All the other champions are there.
Well, not all of them. Kane wasn't there.
Oh yeah.
Kane wasn't there. But Taylor, however you say his name, the poison guy. He was just chilling next to Kale.
And two random little things. Sorry, you can.
No, go ahead. I stopped. I wanted to hear what you had to say.
I love whenever she found the library. Yes. Like, I don't know. I just love that part. And that's a big quote that people use a lot is the libraries are full of what does she say? What's the quote?
I don't know. I just pictured Belle in that moment though. Like no joke. Like I just kind of like had a Belle like, oh, same. I don't remember what the quote was.
Sticker with it on it. It's like libraries that have like the most dangerous weapons.
You know? Libraries.
Yes.
I know what you're talking about.
And then also I loved her like saving Knox when they were doing.
Oh, I loved it.
I was just gonna show you that because like I have my like purple highlighter and my purple tabs is for like plot twists, and so I like highlighted that whole section because I was like they haven't really interacted that much, but you know her trying to save him, one goes back to showing like her empathy, and two kind of shows that relationship that she's already formed. And then I do have like a later a theory that like Knox will be in the final four, or and that she'll like have to end up killing him in order to like win her freedom, or that she'll have to kill him in order to make it to the final four. But either way, I think that he'll have to die. Yeah, I think that he'll have to die like from Selena. Like I think she'll have to kill him.
And if she doesn't, he's gonna get murdered like everybody else is. So
yeah, it's gonna be something like that. Like he's definitely like
let's
pretty
not forget
significant.
Killing everybody right now.
Yeah.
And it's not everybody. Hold on, all the champions. But like, why?
Oh, another thing back to like her childhood, just because I just found it. Kale is asking her like, wasn't there learning to lose gracefully as part of your training? And she says, no, Arobin told me that second place was just a nice title for the first loser.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, low-key, I was like, Ricky Bobby, like, you're not first, you're last. Right? But also like that just kind of shows like how strict he was, and like how much he's like not willing to accept any form of failure. And like
the use of the word tyrannical and doting in the same sentence just like shows just like how it just screams manipulation to me.
Oh, 100%. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to even think about the end of this whole competition thing.
By the way, you were correct, Meg. It says over 500,000 gold coins gone in 3 hours.
3 hours.
Yeah.
And this is why I feel like So you know, like Assassin's Blade is a prequel,
Mm-hmm.
and there's all the argument over like reading that first or reading this first. And I feel I'm such a big like reading this one first because I feel like you get to connect with it, and then you have all the questions, and then you get to go back and get the answers. And
I
I don't know,
think,
I like it that way.
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
glad
I
we
think
decided
for
that
things,
way.
I think for most things, I like reading prequels kind of after because to me, it's kind of like Star Wars, right? The original series is released first, and then you have the prequels. And
Mhm.
while you technically can watch it in like prequels to then original series order, you miss a lot of like context in the original series when you watch the prequels first because
Mhm.
like there's a lot of buildup to Darth Vader, right? And like meeting him and kind of all of that stuff that is taken away when you watch the prequels first. Because obviously, like watching the prequels, you know that he's Luke's father. And like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not that big of a reveal and like stuff like that. And so I do think sometimes there's been several books that I've read that like have an original series and then they go back and do prequels. And I think in this case, when you have like a series released and then prequels, like you do need to read the original series first because there's
Yeah.
all of this buildup and there's all of this like foreshadowing to these big reveals. And then once you've already had that big reveal, like you said, you go back and you find answers in the prequels and like you find more about these things. And so I do think like,
Just feel like it makes you so much more like invested and connected, and
yeah. And like it's hard when you already have the answer to like what happens to be like, oh, this is like building me up or
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like
Like,
yeah.
I think if I knew more about like all the assassin stuff right now, I would not be as like hooked as I am on
Yeah.
some of the
Yeah,
buildings,
like
especially with her and Kale, because that's who she's kind of talked to the most about like all of that and her time in Indovir. So I feel like I just wouldn't be able to connect with a lot of the scenes the same way
I
had
think
I
so as
actually
well.
read AB first. Like, no shade to anybody who does. Like, period.
Yeah. Like
No
Read however you
shade.
obviously
want. No, no judgment. Like,
Read it,
read
third, or
however you want.
die.
Because there are people who will swear up and down to read Assassin's Blade first because they
Yeah.
just cannot get into Throne of Glass because there were too many questions.
Yeah.
No, I
And
think
that's
that's
fine
why I
too.
like series though, because like that's why I get into series, right? Because I have questions and I want to keep reading in order to find the answers, right? Like I don't I don't really love when like things come out immediately and like you just kind of like this happened, then this happened, then this happened. Like I like being like, "Oh, what's happening next?" or like, "Why
Right.
is this important?" And then you have to keep reading to like find out and like
Yeah. Yeah.
so I don't know. I think I'm always kind of slow to get into new series just in the first place, just because there's always just like a little bit of I don't
Just
know,
have
like
to
build up.
adjust. Yeah.
Yeah, like you have to get used to the world and the like
Yeah.
magic building if there is and like all of these things that you it's just a slow start, but like I think by having those questions, like by introducing it in a way that you're like, "Ooh, what is this?" or like, "What does that mean?" and like you want to keep reading to find out the answers. And so I
Yeah.
think
I think that's a lot of people's biggest problem with like guitar that I've seen is that it's
yeah.
so hard for them to get into book one
Yeah.
because there's so much world building in the beginning. And like, I think what it's like only like really 5 chapters worth in this one.
Mhm.
And it feels
Yeah,
like,
like she gets into the storyline pretty quickly in this
yeah,
one.
she did really,
Um
really well, like balancing it. But like looking back on like Akatar compared to like what I remember of Akatar compared to this, yeah, Akatar was, I can see
I
it.
don't know. I like I've talked about this. I sped read like the whole Akatar series. And so like obviously I wasn't going through and like annotating or like taking notes about this. I was just
No,
like reading it to read
read it.
it. And so like for me, I can read an entire book in like 4 hours and like then go to the next one if I'm not like really trying to like super digest it, which when I read Akatar, I had no idea that like she's the type of writer that you do like kind of annotate and look for theories and like stuff for that, right?
Yeah.
Um so I definitely think I'll do a reread soon and like go through and annotate that because
Girl, what you mean? We all gonna do it.
yeah, we're gonna do it together like on the pod, yeah. But I do think like it will be very useful, like one, having the context of Throne of Glass, right? Because like we've talked about, like these do kind of interconnect. Me and Meg both have said like we have no idea how they interconnect yet, and I don't think it'll be like very obvious for us yet.
Yeah, no.
But I think it's like a
What is the Fae mention?
yeah, just that is like all I've got so far.
Semper, you haven't read any Crescent City, right?
No, nope.
Okay.
I listened to the first two.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll message you later and ask if you've picked up on anything.
I don't think I have specifically yet.
Okay.
Are there things we should have picked up on by now?
Don't worry about it. You haven't read it yet, so don't worry.
Yeah, there's nothing super specific that I've picked up on yet, but again, like for some reason, like my brain probably just wouldn't connect that right now.
There's a really big one immediately, so I'll message you. I'm excited.
Okay.
So after Throne of Glass, are we going to do Crescent City and then a reread of ACOTAR, or?
I think we need to do ACOTAR then Crescent City, right?
Okay.
Am I right?
I feel like that's the best order to read them in.
Well, okay. I'm thinking of what I remember of Crescent City, specifically the ending of the second book. Like toward the end, I think. I don't know. That's a really big book, so I don't really remember all of it. I could be conflating, but there's a specific scene that I'm thinking of, and I think we need to read ACOTAR first because of that.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
It needs to be dog. I took it. I knew it would click eventually, so I just kept talking.
And then 25. What do you guys make of all that?
So much, dude. So much. Literally, I think this is a chapter that like I will continually come back to because there's just so much in it, first of all. And like I think it says a lot that she sees a way out and she doesn't take it. But she does still like be like, ooh, I could. Like I've set myself up. I know where to go. I could easily get out of here. Like she's proven that she could get out that way. And so I think it just kind of goes back to showing that she's like always got a backup and she always knows the exit and she always knows like where she can go. I think that it speaks a lot that Elena showed up to Selena. Like I think it means, well, obviously Selena's important because she's the female main character, but I think it really solidifies like her ties to magic, and I think it really solidifies that like she's going to be the reason that magic comes back. And right,
or maybe like not the reason it comes back, but like
I think she's going to be at least like the catalyst, right? Like, because we've talked about magic went away on its own and it could come back. Yeah, it could come back. So I think like she's going to set in motion like a series of events that cause magic to come back.
Or something is going to happen on the flip side. Like maybe something happens and she becomes a conduit for the magic to come back, kind of thing.
Yes. I also like really noted, so one, that Elena is related to Dorian.
That's
right?
What I was about to bring up is like the family tree.
Yeah, that she's related to Dorian. The other thing was Selena asks, "Are you a ghost?" And she says, "Not quite. I'm not alive, but my spirit doesn't haunt this place. I've risked much coming here tonight," which makes me think like her spirit lies in like another realm, and that's where the magic is, and like that's where it's all retreated to because of the dangers and everything, and that like by her coming and like making herself known to Selena, that she's somehow like opened a pathway to that other realm, and that she's like put other people at risk and like magic at risk, and like that this is possibly the way that we will like maybe like Elena comes back through Selena and like really kind of channels through her again, kind of being like a channel for the magic to come back through, or you know, something like that. But and then the whole nothing is a coincidence, everything has a purpose. You were meant to come to this castle, just as you were meant to be an assassin to learn the skills necessary for survival. Like that to me, I was just like,
Love her.
Like, so like there's some, and that, oh my God, that doesn't echo, but like that's such the flip of what she had thought earlier, or what we got insight to earlier, where it says she wasn't fated for anything, not anymore.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I
But then
was
like, here she is being fated for something, like,
I know,
what?
literally, like, right when I read that line, I was like,
Sarah,
this is obviously a
why?
lie.
I just want to ask Sarah, like, I want to sit down with her. Sarah, why do you put your female main characters through so much family trauma, honey?
Yeah.
Like, are you okay? Like, I love you. Your writing's great. Like, you do great with it. You do great build up. But like, honey.
The other thing that I said, like about the other realm kind of thing, is, you know, she says something evil dwells in this castle, something wicked enough to make the stars quake. Its malice echoes into all worlds. And I was like, all worlds? What? Like, no. And then, you know, she says, forget your friendships, forget your debts and oaths. Destroy it before it's too late. Before a portal is ripped open so wide, there can be no undoing it. And I'm like, shit.
Oh, I'm just so excited.
I'm so excited to keep reading. Like, I've been waiting for so long.
I'm over here trying to connect dots right now.
Yes. I think this is one of those things that, like, as you talk through it, you start to be like, oh, and this, like, oh, yeah, also.
Because, like, that didn't even click in my head, but now it is, especially after, like, we just had, like, Guitar Crescent City talk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So now I'm just like, hold up.
So excited. Yes. Yeah, so, Gavin was the first king of Adderland.
Yes.
And Elena was it Brannon or Bannon?
So Elena is Brannon's daughter. He was the king of Terrasen.
Yeah, because she was the first princess of Terrasen. And
holy cow, there's a lot of freaking dots there for Selena and Dorian.
Yeah, I was going to say Selena comes from Terrasen.
So Elena marries Gavin, and this is their tomb.
Yes.
So, I don't remember where I was going with that.
Oh yeah, because it said no Fae.
King Brannon was Fae. King Brannon was Fae. That's why. That's why. Yeah. I was like, wait a second.
Says, but no Fae had married into Havil. Is that Haviliard?
Haviliard.
Yeah, because there's the extra I.
yeah, Haviliard.
Line for 1,000 years, and there had been only one, and she was a half breed at that. And then that's how she knows that it was Elena, right? Because she says, you know, she had the ears of the Fae, and then this man was Gavin, the first king, and then Elena was the first princess of Terrasen, Brannon's daughter, and Gavin's wife and queen. And I think that's also kind of like an important note, because I don't know, I feel like when people list that out, it kind of makes them see each other as equals, right? Because I think it's very easy for it just kind of goes to Gavin's and Elena's relationship, and that she could have just said like, oh, she was Gavin's wife. But like to say wife and queen means that like Elena had just as much influence as Gavin did. And like, yeah.
But now it makes me wonder where that magic is in Dorian's line.
Yes. I think it's still there. Like,
oh, well, yeah. We said it just it's hiding.
And then I think that the sword is really important.
Yes.
Because it
Damaris.
says
Oh, it is. She names it.
yes,
Yeah,
the sword that had
Damaris.
slain Dark Lord Erewhon, even after 1,000 years, it hadn't rusted. Though magic might have vanished, it seemed that the power that had forged the blade lived on. And so I think eventually Selena will wield Damaris.
Or Dorian, maybe.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's Selena.
Well, the only
But
reason I say that is because Elena had just given Selena that amulet.
Oh, the other thing. Remember, I said something about the clock tower.
Also, hold on, the ring. Kale gave her a ring. How have we not talked about that yet?
Oh yes. We
literally talked about them both being in a room at the same time at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Because we're talking about theories, okay?
I know that. I'm talking about before the theories. Sorry, I had to
know.
talk because I was just
I
like,
had to kick my feet one more time.
Yeah. Well, like, okay, so the other thing that I was going to say is, remember, I think that the clock tower is super important because she says, the 8 guardians, you know of whom I speak. And then Selena says, oh, the gargoyles on the clock tower. And Elena says, they guard the portal between our worlds. We have managed to buy some time, and I was able to slip past. And then, like, that's the whole nothing is a coincidence, line.
I love that line because it's so true for all of SJM's work. It's like,
yeah. Well, yeah. She's
I don't write anything without reason.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's very interesting. And, like, it makes Kane being weird around the clock tower even weirder. So I'm so excited to, like, continue reading. This is such a good, like, story to start and get into because there's so much intrigue in this first book. I think, like, there's just so much.
It's such a good setup, I think, for the rest of it, like, because so much happens. Like, we're only on chapter 26 now. Like, we haven't started it yet, but we've only finished 25 chapters, and there's, like, much
and 7 other books.
Yeah, and 7 other books. I mean, think about this one specifically being a good series starter.
Yeah, I think she did a great job with this one, and, like, that this is kind of like her first foray into writing in general. Like, really, it just proves even more so, like, how great of a writer she is.
It's mind-blowing.
I loved ACOTAR, and I had no context of any of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So just like, she appeals to quite a lot of people, and she's, like, got really good writing, and I think, like, that drives people to, like, really continue, like, supporting her and everything. So I'm excited.
I don't know, Sarah, if you ever get with this podcast, please hurry up with ACOTAR 6.
I know, I'm like,
yes.
I was really
still haven't read Silver Flames because I know I'm gonna want to read 6 like immediately after. Like, well, I guess it's technically going to be 5 because people are saying that. What is it?
Frost and Starlight.
Yeah, Frost and Starlight is just like kind of like a novella. Yeah,
which track? But
I'm trying to see if there's any theories that, like, I had but that we didn't touch on yet.
Oh, mine was just Breeze being the magic. Which I guess I was right because now I guess we can say that was Elena leading her.
Yeah. Well, because, like I said, like, basically anytime I had a question or I had, like, a thought that I was like, ooh, maybe. Oh, I did note, like, as, like, I don't know, not necessarily a theory, but, like, kind of foreshadowing when the king says, I am the conqueror of this continent and soon to be ruler of all Earlia, you will not question me. Like, that to me was like, you're digging your own grave right there, buddy. Like, soon to be, no, I don't think so. Like,
you just put that in the universe. Now the universe is going to stop you. Like,
yeah, like,
how that works in books.
Oh, I did say, like, I kind of noted because I know SJM's writing and I know that, like, she's very intentional with, like, how she describes characters. So it's the part where you're first meeting Keltane and her ladies, and she's wearing, like, red and the ladies are wearing blue. So I was like, oh, red is like royalty / high ranking people, because you also notice that like Dorian is described with his red cape, and so is Kale. And then blue is the serving class people, because her ladies in waiting are in blue. Selena's lady is in blue a lot. And then you kind of like realize this throughout. And then the other thing was they described Dorian as raven-haired and they described Caltaine as raven-haired. And so I was like, I don't know if this is also for like royalty or if it's just, I don't know. I think there's something significant about them both being raven-haired, because that's a very specific like description. And I know SJM. I'm like,
and there's also, and I also on that point, like Selena and Dorian have like the same color eyes.
Yes.
Too.
Yeah.
Like, they both have blue eyes. And hers are probably, I think, a little bit more turquoisey.
Yeah.
And his,
he has specifically sapphire eyes, and then hers are supposed to be like turquoise with
hers
gold.
are turquoise. Yeah.
But
hers are lighter. But I was just thinking like the nothing is a coincidence thing. Like, you know, like, like I think any specific like similarities between people, I'm like, ooh, okay, like there's a reason for that. Me just casually,
even if it's small, like even if it falls into like, okay, well, these people are very high ranking, I need them to be different from anybody else in the royal court, like we're gonna give them both black hair. That's small, but it's intentional, and there's a reason.
It is, yeah.
We're not saying they're like family or connected like that or anything. It's just important for her writing purposes.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I know I have like another theory that we haven't touched on yet. Oh, just another like kind of foreshadowing that I noticed was like Dorian, we're talking about the dogs at the track, and he's talking about one of the pregnant hounds, and he said their mother had a tendency to escape from her pen. She was his fastest, but he'd never been able to quell the wildness within her. And that to me is like very much a like parallel to Selena, obviously. And like possibly that like her and Dorian get together, but then she's like still this like wild, you know, person, and like that he's unable to quell that within her.
I just like that the dogs went up to her.
Yes, yeah, I do
in
that.
the beginning when they're like all friendly.
Like they just loved her. They just loved her immediately. And like Dorian was even like, that's weird. That's weird. Why do I like you? Yeah, I also want to point out, I love that she called him out for like not coming to see her or talking to her after they got back to the castle.
I love that. Okay, that's all the theories that I had. So we covered like everything that I wrote down so far.
My only theory was the breeze being magic. So
yeah. I agree.
Like I connected, like I have it as foreshadowing and theories, the same color, and then like obviously I connected the Fae.
Yeah,
and
I don't really have one separately for like ACOTAR connections, just because I feel like this is something that I feel like we'll read through Throne of Glass, and then when we read through ACOTAR, I'll have the connections within ACOTAR, not necessarily.
Wait. I have so much once we get to that part. Ooh.
I'm so excited, like to get further in and like see all the connections, because with me having Red Crescent City and what I do remember of it, like, oh my god.
Yeah, I've got a few theories for ACOTAR that I will like die on the hill of that. Yeah, come from this.
Okay, nice.
I'm excited. For sure. Okay, so let's switch gears, I guess, because we could sit here and probably talk about this all night long. And talk about the other part of our lovely podcast, which would be fanfiction. Just going to point out, we're super nerds, and we still read Harry Potter fanfiction, like we probably did when we were like 15 years old. But it's okay.
Me, unfortunately. I'm a baby in the fanfiction world. I'm less than a year old.
Hey, that's okay. Everybody's got a starting point. But yeah, so fun fact, we all met thanks to a wonderful Discord server. I will not say the name just so there's not like an influx of people or anything like that. But
just say DBB girlies for life.
Yeah. So shout out to all the DBB people, because they will eventually watch this. We love you bunches. So yeah, that whole server is dedicated to Harry Potter fan fiction, more specifically Hermione, which, if for all you not fiction reading people out there, that's Draco and Hermione. And this is a hill we will all die on, so don't even come for us at all. Don't. You
Stop
ain't
before
gonna
you
win.
start.
You're not gonna win. We're not gonna listen. Like, unless you want to talk about some Hermione, we
Yes.
might hop on that train a little bit.
Even Hermione, I'm okay.
Yeah,
Just give us all the pairings. We'll read it.
I'm a firm believer of anyone but Ron.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, same. Even Charlie. We'll take Charlie, but no Ron.
dude, I love Charlie. Actually,
I'll even take Percy.
No.
I don't know about that one.
I like him with Pansy though.
Yes.
The ones that I've read,
Yes.
like with him with Pansy, like I love because they're such total opposites. It's kind of like her and Neville too.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're just such total opposites. It's great.
I love her and Neville. I think they're so
shout
fun
out
together.
Plant Daddy for life, right?
Oh yes.
Okay, so we've already kind of touched on the fave pairings thing. What are some favorite tropes that you guys have?
I will die for a one bed trope. I love it.
So Kira's like, give me all the one bed.
Yes. Obviously, enemies to lovers. I think we're all in that camp of enemies to lovers. Like, I don't think you're into Hermione without being into enemies to lovers.
That's kind of an important one.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like others. Oh, I do love a good touch her and die. Like, oh, that just hits so good.
And it's not like, and it doesn't always have to be toxic. Like people are going to hear this and be like, "Oh, that's
yes."
It's not always toxic. First of all, we can give you.
It's just protective, okay? Like he can.
Sometimes it's
protective.
just like touch her and like receive
It's
repercussions.
not
always
like,
die.
You will get fired from your job. Like I will get you fired.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I'll even take seriously name.
Yeah, like
mine. I have one that's kind of specific, but I love when like someone's injured and the other person has to take care of them.
Yes.
I
love a little like, who did this to you? So good.
Like whenever like her, like it's a fic where like her and Ron fight, and then like she's running off and like just runs into Draco, and they haven't seen each other in like years or talked to each other in years. And then like there's one fic that I'm thinking of specifically, but I can't remember the name of it. But she ends up leaving and goes and stays with Draco for like months.
Yes.
The point
I
where
know which one you're talking about.
I haven't read this.
It's the one with the I don't want to like spoil it because it's like a really big thing in the fic. Like I don't want to say anything about it. Oh my gosh, I'll have to.
Is this the one where she's like friends with Theo, and Theo's like, "Oh, I have like a place that you can stay at," and she doesn't know that Draco is the roommate at first?
Run into each other. No, they run into each other outside.
I think I do know this one as well. There's a couple that have that trope of like her breaking up with Ron, or like her getting into a huge fight with Ron and like needing a place to stay and like becoming roommates with Draco.
Yeah.
And then obviously it's oh my god, they were roommates. Like,
there's literally a fic called that. It's short.
It.
Really?
It's cute. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my god. There was one I was gonna say, but I can't remember now. One bed. Enemies to lovers. Touch her and die. I do like me a Death Eater Draco.
Yes.
I do
like my fics either like so dark that I'm questioning my mental health, like so fluffy that I'm like
literally
concerned amount of giggling.
Yeah, no in between. 100%.
Oh my gosh, 100. This is also the same person. What you just said the other day in the server that you read Secrets of Masks and Perfectly in Pieces, like
at the same time.
Yeah.
Tandem reading them.
Oh Lord. Yeah, definitely in a questioning your mental health moment. 100%.
I did read The Doll's House.
I will not read that one.
The other day. And
I will not read that one.
Ending. Phantom and her endings, like
I kind of knew that it was leading up to that, but still, like, the reveal and then the ending, I was like, like, I don't read tags before. Like, I just go in blind, to be honest, because, like, I don't really have, I don't have major triggers. Like, I have some things, but, like, I will just DNF. I don't, like, if it's not for me, it's not for me kind of thing, right?
Right.
I love
But
tags, but I think it's just because I'm such a mood reader. I'm like, what's this? Am I like doing?
See, same.
You know,
That's
like, yeah.
yeah, kind of. But, like, sometimes I don't read tags because they spoil things for you. Right? So, like,
or
I
they
will
make
read
you
the tag
curious
for that one.
and what in the world could be happening.
Yeah.
Yes, Brianna, we're talking to you.
Yes. Sometimes,
Go is
like,
play.
yeah,
What?
like, sometimes you read something, you read a tag, and you're like, it's so out of context, you have no idea, like, what it actually means. But other times, like, because I don't really care if a fic has a happily ever after. Like, I will read fics that don't have happily ever afters because I think sometimes that's just, like, reality of situations, right?
Yeah.
And that they are better without having, like,
Yeah.
a kind of, like, thrown together happily ever after kind of thing, right?
Just because
Yeah.
that's kind of how you feel like everybody's going to want it to end, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, I really liked the first epilogue of Secrets and the second epilogue was fine. I just felt like it was put together for people who were upset
To
about
please,
the first epilogue.
yeah.
Yeah, for people who were upset about the first epilogue. Because to me, the first epilogue gave you closure, but still let you, like, really hurt and
Yeah.
really feel what that fic was meant to make you feel. And
Right.
then the second epilogue, very nice, very, like, okay, but I would never say,
sweet, but
yeah, I would never say that it's a happily ever after. Like, if I'm wrecking it to people, like, I'm not going to say that. I will say that it's a happy ending, but it's not a happily ever after.
Yeah.
And then
it's as happy as it could be.
Yeah, and then also I just, like, personally, if I had to reread it, I would just stop at epilogue 1 because epilogue 2 is nice and it's like a little spinoff, but I feel like it was stronger. And I think that's how she intended it to be. I think she intended it for it to end at epilogue 1. And then because how fan fiction works, like, I'm sure after she posted it, a bunch of people were like, this is the ending. Like,
yeah.
And then she was like, okay, I guess I'll, like, put something together for everybody else. Which I just think, like, when authors have a vision for the ending of like a fic or a book, right? Like, you do a disservice making them change it because it's just never going to be as strong.
Ada, I think, is the author, and it's The Breeding Pit. And I guess she went through something really similar with that, where, like, she wrote this story and it was good. And then people were like, but we need more. And so she, like, wrote more, and then she changed her mind, went back and took it back off.
Yeah.
But yeah. And I liked how the original one ended, but
yeah,
I hate that she felt pressured into that.
I don't like it either. I think sometimes it can be useful, like, if the author is specifically looking for feedback or, like, wants kind of an idea of, like, a direction that people want it to go in or something like that. But I also, I don't know, I'm very much of the mindset that, like, fan fiction is free and it's a gift.
Yeah.
And, like, you shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth. And, like, I don't care that something didn't end the way that you wanted it to. Like, that's why people make fan fiction off of other fics. Like, you know, like,
I want you to know, that phrase, heard it all my life, and it just now clicked what it meant. I
never looked a horse in the mouth.
The tism is taking a back seat for once.
Yeah, no, but, like, I just really think that, like, people forget that fanfic authors spend their free time writing this for fun. They are not getting any, like, I mean, obviously, right, some of them can get published and some of them can, like, end up making money out of it.
But they have to want that. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah. And, like, you're not going to get them to want to publish if you're just like constantly criticizing them or constantly like going against their wishes. Like one of the big things right now is binding and like selling binds for profit, and like
Don't do that.
just it's not like, one, it's just very disrespectful to the author because you're
profiting off of someone else's words that they wrote.
And it's not even like it's their words, but like they can't even get profit for it because it's fan fiction. Like they're not even their characters.
It's not even just that though, because they're not just profiting off of the authors. They're profiting off of fan artists. They're profiting off of, you know, like a ton of other people that go into this, right? Because I will say, like, having personal binds for your personal collection, like, okay, fine, whatever. And like, I'm kind of iffy on gifting them to other people because I don't know, I feel like the lines can get blurred very quickly.
Yes.
And, you know, like, I think people can be like, oh, well, I could make money for this. Or like, even when they say like, oh, I'm going to gift it to you, but I just want you to cover the cost of materials. Like, I don't know. It just gets very gray and like murky for me. But like, I think if you have it for your own collection, I can understand like reading a really good fic and wanting it to stay like close to your heart and like having that original, especially if they get later published and like you buy the published version, kind of being able to see like how they differ and like how the themes still work and stuff like that. Right. But I think that you're profiting off of a bunch of people that like have no say in you using their work. And then even when they say like, hey, don't do this, you're still ignoring their wishes and stuff like that. And like, even
the same
when
goes for people who buy it, like off Etsy or whatever. Like,
yeah, I agree that there's a lot of people who are new to fan fiction in general, and they don't necessarily know that these are the rules or the unspoken kind of like courtesies that you give. But like, buying binds off of Etsy of fan fiction, one, is legally very troubling because the binder is not the one that gets in trouble.
It's the
author is.
And then the artist, I think, are attached. And then if that author does have hopes to try and work, like pull it and maybe rework it, like to take the aspect out of it to get published, no publisher is going to want to work with them if they've gotten in trouble for their stuff being binded and sold. Like,
it's and then it's not even that, because now you're creating a space where like other authors don't feel comfortable like posting their fan fiction because they're worried about that, and then you're like stifling this creativity and stuff. So I think we have to tread a very careful line with fan fiction because it is a labor of love, right? Like, people aren't writing these stories just because they want to. Like, they love this series and they love these ideas that they come out with, and they are putting together these storylines, and whether or not it's like something as simple as like grammar mistakes, right? And you don't want to read it or you want to criticize because of grammar mistakes. To me, my viewpoint on it is just DNF. If there's some reason that you can't get into a fic or that you don't like a fic, like, there is no reason to harass authors to comment about these things, because honestly, authors don't care. Like,
there's so much else to read. Just go read something else.
Just like, DNF and start a new one. I think the same thing for like asking in groups that recommend fan fiction and like going on there and like listing all the reasons that you don't like this book.
Oh, I hate that
or
question.
Like asking if it gets better or asking if it's worth it. Like, right? If you don't like it, just stop. And like move on. There's been plenty of fics that like I couldn't get into for one reason or another, and I DNF'd and then I came back to and I tried again and I really liked it. Or I DNF'd and I didn't come back to it because I was like, well, this isn't the vibe that I like, or the writing isn't to my liking, whatever the reason is. But like, I never would ever go comment on the author's fic and be like, I DNF'd because X, Y, and Z. But I will comment when I do like things, because I think everybody needs encouragement in order to keep like working on things, right? Because if you're working on something and you're getting absolutely no feedback on it, or like the feedback that you're getting is only negative, like, you're not going to want to keep working on it. And so like I reached out to Grayana on Instagram and like told her how much I loved Invictus. I loved all of the writing, and she hears it a lot because like people have been wrecking it like nonstop since she finished it in May last year. But it is really just something that I was like, I want you to know. And I was like, we created a little side server
Yeah.
to go over this because I was like, I introduced a whole bunch
growing.
of people to it. Like, I know, I love it. The little cult that we have. But I was like, this is one of the fics that like I would love to like lose my memory of just to be able to reread.
Oh, 100%.
Because it's so fantastic. I'm going to listen to the podcast, the podfic that's coming out, because I just want to consume everything related to Invictus as much as possible because
we're getting
so
a tattoo
good.
of it. Like we're getting.
Yes, literally. So I reached out to her and I let her know like how much I love it, that I've recommended it to other people, how much like I've sent her some of your guys' reactions from the server and stuff because I was like, oh, like I think she, especially because like she's writing so much right now, I think she like really deserves to know that people love her writing and like how well it's received and everything like that, especially considering it is a relatively newer fic, right? Like,
and it's
to
also
be completed
kind of a controversial pairing too.
Like, yes, yeah, and like it's a very kind of dark fic, right? And like it's not always everybody's cup of tea. And so I think just kind of encouraging writers to know that. And then also, right, like she said that that's book one of like 3 books that she has envisioned. And so for me, it's also really important for her to know that book 1 was so well received. So that way she'll continue with book 2 and book 3 because it is a wonderful storyline. And I love the way that she writes in general, like not just Invictus. Everything that I've read of hers is amazing. And I think she just, you know, like sometimes it just takes encouragement from readers for authors to be like, oh, it does matter and people do like what I'm doing and I should continue, because everybody gets a sense of doubt of like,
and syndrome and
like, okay, is it really good? Or like, because like if you're like friends and family, like watch what you do or like read what you do, like obviously your friends and family
we
are
love
be like,
it.
it's so great, like whatever, right? But for total strangers to be like, this is now an important part of my personality, like I am the one that says you want to get into Tom, read Invictus. Like you want to get into this pairing, read Invictus. Like, and it's such a great intro, I think, into that pairing for most people because it's a little bit dark, but it's not like super crazy like some of them are. Yeah. And it's just so well written that you just get sucked in and like you fall in love with all of the characters that she introduces, especially because a lot of them don't like they're just barely mentioned in canon, right? So she has like a lot of freedom for how she characterizes them and like,
she's definitely got a lot going for her, like as far as like what she's doing because of the time period specifically that she's writing about.
Yes.
Too, like there's a lot of like playroom with like not a lot of true canon stuff to it, and I'm super duper excited. Yeah, you did definitely create a cult with that one.
Yes.
I think you just added what, like 3 or 4 more people.
Yeah. Well, like you guys started reading in like July, right? July, August timeframe?
Yeah, I think around July.
Yeah, so I was following it as a whip. And I started reading it. I'm trying to think of what got me into Tom. Maybe Unsphere the Stars, which is a good one, but it's kind of it's interesting. And then I read Madame Umbridge's Home for Wayward Girls, which I know Tex, if you're listening, she's gonna start soon, and I'm gonna do a reread with her because I loved that one. And then I got into Invictus, and I was following it as a work in progress, and it was like the highlight of my day when I saw that like another chapter got released, because I was like, yes, fiending for it, right?
Something that I was almost mentioned earlier is like people who just like almost act hateful towards whips. I'm like, there's something
Yeah.
just so special about following one. And like,
It's so fun because you
it
get like a
is.
little giggly.
And
Yeah,
it's like
you do.
live reacting to comment, like as chapters come out and
Yeah.
being a part of the process. Like I'll never ever, I was so new to fan fiction when which one was it? Shackled.
Mm.
It was a
Oh, I
whip and it
love
was my
that
first
one.
whip. And I commented on it and was like, said something about a hair braiding scene. And then she put it in and I was like, it was just
It's
so
so
exciting.
Yeah, that's
So
so,
fun.
like, I like whips, don't get me wrong. My own brain span won't let me, like,
I
really, like,
completely understand.
focus.
Yeah.
Like, I'm following a few from people in the server right now,
Yeah.
and, like, I'm, like, 10 chapters behind on, one. Um, and if
Yeah.
anybody ever wants to know, like, which ones I'm talking about, I'm going to get with people in our server and, like, make sure that we can, like,
Yeah,
actually talk
share
about
them.
them and their stuff. I don't want
Yeah.
to, like, have their stuff blow up. This is with our first foray into it. But yeah, it just as far as fan fiction goes, just be respectful. Like,
Yeah. I think
don't
that's what it boils down to. Like,
just
and
be
I think a
nice.
lot of people on the internet, like, because you're not directly seeing the person that you're affecting, like, it's very easy for you to be mean and like,
Or forget, or just like
Yeah.
not even think about what you're saying. Like, because I've read a lot of things that I'm just like, that's really not mean, but like somebody could take it that way. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think a lot of times, like, even if you're not intending it, like I said, there's a lot of people who are getting into Dramini specifically. Like, it has blown up on TikTok and stuff in the
Yeah.
past year. And there's quite a lot
shout
of
out to
people.
Sin because that's kind of her. That's kind of her
Yeah.
That's
thing
how
there.
I got here. It's actually like
Yeah.
I had just finished my second reread of Throne of Glass, and I was scrolling through TikTok, and there was some TikTok being like, "What story just like blew your mind,
Yes.
broke you?" And the comments were Throne of Glass manacled, Throne of Glass manacled, Throne of Glass manacled, and I was like, "What is this manacled everyone's talking about?" And it's being like,
Yeah.
"It's right up there with Throne of Glass. Sign me up!" And I discovered AO3, and here I am.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's like really important to say, like, because I've been reading fanfic since like early middle school, right? Not necessarily Harry Potter fanfic, but just fanfic in general, right? And so there are a lot of rules or unwritten rules that like people don't talk about. And like now there's these large communities of people to talk about fanfic, right? It used to just be in these comments
Yeah.
of like I started out on fanfiction.net, right?
Oh my
Like
gosh.
AO3
Same.
wasn't even really
Nope.
like a
Nope.
thing
And
yet, right?
smut was lemons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Smut
The
was
citrus
lemons.
scale.
I wasn't there, but I know the lore.
No, okay. So like little middle school aged me would like go through Twilight fanfic and specifically look for ones that like said like warning lemons, and I'd be like, ooh, this is the good shit. Like, no, but like so there's lots of rules that are kind of like unwritten that like the community has just come to understand together. And I think when you're newly introduced to it, there are just a lot of things you don't know, right? And with these spaces, in order to talk about it, I think it's very easy for people to like gang up on things, right? And like be like, oh, I hated this because X, Y, and Z, or like, even the comments of like, does this get better? And then people just kind of pile onto that and be like, oh, I hated it, I couldn't get into it, or like, this character is such a pick me, or like something like that. Like when they're just kind of piling on and it's unintended by the original like poster, right? Like they're not meaning for it to come out necessarily that harsh, but I think it does open at like a breeding ground for these very negative comments and like very negative takes. And I think what people don't understand is a lot of times authors, not even the author of your fic, but just authors of fanfic in general, are part of this community and part of that discussion as well. And then they're seeing this negative reaction to other people's writing
Yep.
that maybe they liked and maybe they inspired to be like, and then they're just seeing these get shot down and being like, well, maybe I shouldn't even write, or maybe I
this
shouldn't
domino
publish.
effect of Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, it's very easy because you're not seeing the other person like being affected by that. And I think that it does kind of put blinders on in that you're like, oh, this comment, like they're never going to see it, whatever. Right. But I think you always have to think, but they might. Like,
Yeah.
they very well could. You have, like, authors go by pen names in the fanfic community. Most of the time, it's not their actual name. And so you have no idea if they're actually there. And like, you have no idea if they're consuming this content that you're putting out about how much you hate it. And like, if it gets better, or like even comments like that, like, does this get better?
It just opens up the floor for people to say, no, it gets worse. Like, that's
like, even though you're not intending for that to come off negatively, like, it still kind of does, because that's not just for other people to come in and say no, but like, you're saying right now you don't like the direction that this is going in, and you don't like the writing, or you don't like the characters, right? And you're asking, like, does it improve? I hate where it is right now. Does it get better? Right? That's the connotation that you're giving. And I think a lot of people like don't realize that and don't think through some of the ways that they phrase the questions, because there are a lot of like negative connotations with questions like that.
Right. Like, if I don't know, like, it's one of those things, like, I get wanting opinions and stuff, but like, again, there's a way to do it properly. Also, for another unspoken rule, and I don't think gets talked about enough, don't post your fan fictions on Goodreads or Storygraph.
Yeah. I want
Don't
to
do
say,
it.
on this whole topic of like new people entering the fan fiction world and not knowing the etiquette, I was one of those people, because I actually have a funny story I've not even ever brought up before. So
new things.
Okay. First of all, I didn't know about the Goodreads thing. I was like 50 books in when I like started reading fan fiction for like my goal on Goodreads, and I was like, oh, they have them on here too, and quickly learned like, oh, okay, like the whole reasoning behind why it's not okay, and I stopped. That's all you have to do is like, learn from your mistakes. Also, in one of the Facebook groups for Hermione, someone had made some post asking some question similar to what we're talking about, and people were sharing their differences. And I saw people like attacking them, and I'm like, why are they attacking them for this? And I was like, I don't know. I think it's cool to kind of see, like, obviously we're all going to have different opinions. As someone from our server now, who I know, like, I'm not going to name names and stuff.
I have a feeling I know who it is.
Responded to my comment. It was like, no, this is the etiquette. And I was like, oh. And then like it took me like, it was like 2 months later that the server started, and I eventually connected the dots. So I was like, oh my god, it's her. She went off on me.
I think though, like,
I'm so lost. Again, I don't know who it is, so y'all are gonna have to fill me in.
Kind of like what you said, that all you have to do is learn from your mistakes. Yeah. Like, people in the fanfic community are not going to crucify you for putting things on Goodreads, or even, a lot of times people will put like reviews on Instagram or stuff like that, and like kind of like rank them,
giving it a rating. Yeah.
And giving it a rating. And I just think like a lot of fanfic authors don't want you to do that, because again, like,
this is just for fun.
Published work. They're not like necessarily going through and making sure that the timelines all add up, or like, they're not necessarily thinking through it that much. I know some authors do, but others are just doing it in their free time for fun. Yeah. And this is a creative outlet that helps them, especially if they are a published author, right? Like, it helps them get some of these like plot bunnies out, and then like they can focus on their series and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, but they can also see how like the specific like plot bunny works.
Ideas will work, and like how it's received by people. Yes. There's lots of reasons that people like write fan fiction, and rating them in general is just not a good idea, because like I said, like, it's not necessarily published work. It's not going through all of the steps and stuff like that. But also, the fanfic community is not going to crucify you because you did one thing wrong, right?
We're going to crucify you because you're jerks.
They're going to crucify you because you continue to do it wrong, and you refuse to like acknowledge it, right? So in Kiara's case, she didn't know about the Goodreads rule. She had already gone, pretty deep into it, but then as soon as she found out, she stopped doing it, right? And that's all the fanfic community asks you
What you
to
gotta do?
Like, once you've been given a direction or you're told that something is not okay, that you stop that and you move forward with knowing like what is okay and, you know, like moving through that way. The only time that you get like quote unquote crucified by the community is when one, you give pushback and you're like, well, why shouldn't I be able to do this? And that one is like just a sense of entitlement. Like, you're not entitled to any fan fiction.
And you're new here.
You
don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like,
you don't know. Like, we can tell you don't know, but we're trying to help you.
Yeah, and like a lot of times, I know some people can be kind of harsh in their delivery of these things, but like as a whole, the community is not going to be upset with you because you made a mistake and you didn't know about it. If you then know and you continue to make these mistakes, or you continue to like disregard authors' wishes and stuff like that, like then people are going to rightfully like come up in arms because the authors are what make this community.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have fan fiction without fan fiction authors.
Correct.
Like, I think people forget that. Like, you consume, it's kind of like when people don't like, this is going to get a little political, I'm so sorry, but like when people don't like the idea of minimum wage being like a livable wage, and then they're like, oh, like people like, why are you working at McDonald's trying to support your family? But then they're the same people that like go to McDonald's and expect their order to be perfect every time, and they like expect people to be working there and it to be available at all hours, right? Like, you're a consumer of that product, but then you're bashing the people who are providing the product. And like, how do you not see that negatively affects you? Like,
I mean, that goes for just about anything, like customer service, like not just McDonald's, but like Walmart and like Target and stuff like that. Like, if you're gonna be rude to like the people that are checking you out at the store, like they're definitely not, like, they can tell you if they're gonna honor like a price match or something. And if you're rude to the manager, that manager's not gonna give it to you. Like,
well, it's just in general too. Like, if you're rude to providers of a service, just in general, providers of a service or providers of a product, like, then it's going to negatively affect your ability to get that service or product. Like,
right.
In general.
Like, come on, just think about it.
Long story short, don't
be
be
nice.
Like,
don't be mean. Be nice, be respectful, and I don't know. If you don't have anything nice to say at all, just don't say it.
Yeah, just don't say it.
Old adage.
It's perfectly okay to DNF books and fics and not have to give a reason. And if you're looking for recs, I suggest going to your friends first, because they know you and they know what style of writing you'll like, and they can best offer you like fics that you'll like. And I think when you go to large platforms like Facebook groups or even like really large discords, right? If you don't have like a
like
relationship
a catalog
with like
thing.
Well, not just that, but if you don't have a relationship with other members, like, there's such varying tastes in books and fics in general, right? Like, some people really love dark romance, some people don't vibe with dark romance, right? So if you know people like who read with you and who can give you options, I would go to them first, because they're going to give you suggestions that are kind of catered to you. And then if you then need recommendations from, like, let's say you don't have friends in the community and you need recommendations, then you can go to a large group. But I don't think you ever ask the large group about like content within the story, like if it gets better, or like is it a happily ever after, or is there, you know, like trigger warnings, blah blah blah. And I think that's just because the nature of a big group is that everybody has a different opinion.
Yeah,
and there's such vastly different tastes that you're just not going to get a straight answer.
Right. I mean, the best thing you can do in that case, if you don't have any friends that read it, would be to like list out fics that you have read. Like, write vibes that you really like to read the majority of the time. Like, if you like Hanks, or if you like rom-com, if you like, you know, like the one bed trope, if you like the touch her and you die, if you like stuff like that, put that in there. Like, if that's what you're looking for, put what you're
Yeah.
looking for specifically so you can get more accurately tailored results. Because if you're just like, I really don't know what to read, but people don't have an idea of what you've read, like nobody's going to know where to start. And I really appreciate people who comment like, well, what did you last read? Like, what have
Yeah.
you read
Also,
recently that you really like?
another thing is not just what you like, but if you know that there are tropes
Don't
that
like.
you don't like,
Yes.
it's really important to list that out too, because like I said, like everybody has such vastly different tastes that you can get wrecked things that you personally do not like. You don't vibe with for whatever reason. And by the way, I mean just list them out. Like you don't have to give the reason you don't like them. You just have to say, hey, please no XYZ, right? Like you don't have to say why, you don't have to bash on those tags, you don't have to bash on those tropes. You just say, I'm not really into them, right?
We don't yuck, somebody else yum.
Exactly, right?
Everybody
So,
enjoys different things. And that goes for traditional published as well.
yeah, I mean, these kind of rules kind of go for both of them. Like if you're just asking for Rex in general, I think you list out things that you do like, and you can list out things that you really don't like, or ask for trigger warnings on certain content, right? And then you can get kind of more specialized recommendations for that. But also just know that everybody's different, and somebody is going to rec a fic that they absolutely love, and sometimes you're just not going to vibe with it, and that is okay.
What hoodie are you wearing? What sweatshirt are you wearing, Kira? Is it throwing glass?
Yeah.
She said we won't understand it yet.
No, I don't. But I figured it was.
Anyways, it says the 13 from now until the darkness claims us.
Ooh, yeah, I've seen that floating around, so I'm definitely curious to get there.
I've definitely tried my hardest to stay away from any Throne of Glass content, or because I don't want unintentional spoilers.
Yeah.
Sometimes my brain is really good at putting puzzle pieces together.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I'll see an early reference to something and be like, oh, that's connected to that merch or that quote or whatever, and be like, oh, that's what it is. And then I kind of spoil it for myself, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
So
or this won't really spoil anything.
Yeah. Well, it's incredibly hard on TikTok and stuff, because most Throne of Glass content is assuming you've read quite a bit into the series, especially because they've been out for a while, right? I don't blame people for that, but so I just have to anytime I see Throne of Glass on a video, I just scroll. No.
Scroll.
I was so nervous whenever TikTok was going to go down, because I have so much Throne of Glass content saved on there, because whenever I did my reread, it was with friends who were reading it for the first time. And so I have so much saved on there. I'm like, oh, well, now that I'm doing another reread with more friends who haven't read it, I was like, I have all this stored.
Content, yeah.
So expect things to be coming your way as we go.
I'm excited for them.
So excited. I'm super excited. Okay, so to hop back on the fanfic train for a couple more minutes before we need to stop this, because this is a 2-hour long.
Yeah, it's 1 a.m. for
almost.
you guys.
If you had to, no, it's 1. Did you say 1 or did you say 3?
1.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not 3. What are you talking about? That probably proves how tired I am. Anyways, if you guys had to pick, okay, I'll give you guys 3 fanfics. And you cannot say Invictus because you already went on your Invictus.
Okay, 3, our favorite 3?
Top 3 fanfics. Doesn't matter the pairing.
Well, I know mine.
I know one of yours, I think.
Yeah, probably. So,
does it have to do with a pirate?
So, Perfectly in Pieces, definitely. I don't want to say the ones that everyone loves, but
yeah, I know. Come up.
It's everyone
but
loves.
If you love them, and you feel like they fit your top 3, you're fine.
Yeah, definitely Perfectly in Pieces, The Auction, and then 3 is hard. There's so many. Detricate was so good.
I haven't
I have
finished
not
it.
read that. I need
It's
to.
really
good.
good. It's you will love it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's such a
I
deep.
You
need
will
to get into
absolutely
it.
love it.
Yeah.
I'm only like 25% of the way in, so like you'll catch up to me in no time. Just let me know when you get.
Okay. I think my top 3. Okay, so Measure of a Man is definitely up there. I love that
Oh,
fic.
Oh,
so good.
I love Measure of a
Oh,
Man.
it's so good. I really like An Ever Given Mark, which I think is slotted for a
Is it
future
an ever fixed mark?
read. Yes.
Okay, yeah. I haven't read it, but yeah, I had people
Yeah,
say
I
that
know.
too, and
Oh
I would
yeah,
like
yeah,
it.
yeah. So good.
It is so good.
You're
It
gonna
is
love it.
so good. And then Dead of Time.
I
Dead
haven't
of
read that one.
Time.
It's
It
really,
is
really
so
good.
good. I know Meg just did, right? Like you
Yeah.
just finished it. It is huge. It is a giant thick.
Yeah.
But it is
Yeah.
so worth it. There's so
Better.
much context. Like it wraps
Yeah.
together
There-
perfectly.
Have you seen some of the comments in the server of one of the girls rewatch or watching Harry Potter with her husband for the first time? Like her
Yeah.
husband's never watched them, so they're watching them. Well, she just read Dead of Time. And so like her brain is like confusing
Yeah.
canon and stuff now. Like that's how impactful.
Yeah, it's so good.
Someone recommended it so long ago, like probably back in June, and I downloaded it then, and I still haven't like opened it. And then I know everyone was doing like the read of it recently, and I wanted to, but I was like such a bad reading slump like in December-ish.
Well, you were also
So,
really busy too. Like there was a lot
Yeah.
going on too.
It's
Yeah.
it's a good one. I highly recommend it.
Mhm.
The other one that I need to read is All the Young Dudes. because
Yes.
I
I've
really want to
heard
read that one.
that it's amazing. I've heard that it's amazing. I've heard lots of really good things.
But
So
wanting to get into the characters so bad. Like,
yeah,
I'm
Well,
super
I-
excited.
I
There's so
definitely
much
am gonna read
there.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
we'll have to read it together.
yes, but you need to read Dead of Time first.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that one will be a really, really good intro for you.
Yes.
I think
I
that
love
would be
him.
like I don't know anything about All the Young Dudes, and I know All the Young Dudes is like the big like Marauder wreck, you know.
Yeah,
big
it
one,
is.
but
I think Dead of Time is not specifically a Marauder wreck. It's just like it's a giant ceremony wreck. Like if
it's
I don't know
Is
if you
that what
guys
it
are
is? I
part.
didn't even know that.
yeah, it's
Yes.
it's also Lumine.
Oh no, oh, okay. Never mind. I was
Hermione,
thinking
yeah, with
Hermione and
Severus.
Lumine.
Okay.
No, Sirius and
No,
Hermione.
that's Sev.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My brain.
But yeah.
Okay, my top 3. Love and Other Historical Accidents.
Yes, that's a good one.
That's
I was
probably
really
one of
hoping that one would win for this month.
I
Mhm.
really, really like that one a lot. Dead of Time would have to be my second, just because it's oh my gosh, it's so well written, and I'm a sucker for time travel. I love time travel fics, which is why I was so obsessed with Invictus.
Yes.
Like we talked about me being a slut earlier. Like I had a whole Google Doc with like dates and things that were happening because it is a time travel fic, and
Yes.
things obviously are going to have to happen in certain parts that will affect like the canon timeline. So I was just like, I need to know and like keep things straight. And like everybody laughed at me and made fun of me. So
We didn't
yeah,
make fun of you.
oh, you did. You did, but it's okay.
No. What I said was it was very funny that you put all of this effort into it.
And it didn't matter, but I love it, and it helped me keep things straight. And to be fair,
Well,
she is still writing 2 books. We don't know.
Well, yes. What I said was it was really funny that you guys were asking all of these questions and that I physically could not answer. And you guys thought that I was just being like mysterious and like, ooh. And I was like, no, I just don't know the answer, guys. Like, none of us do. Like,
Oh my gosh, my third pick. Okay, what would my third pick be? It's a toss up between Batmobile and Measure of a Man.
oh, okay. Explain what Batmobile is for new
Yeah.
readers.
That would be Draco Malfoy and the mortifying ordeal of being in love. I really don't know why I got the name Batmobile. Probably
It's
just
because
of,
like
the
how
abbreviation, Looks like
Yeah.
The
Batmobile.
abbreviation.
Yeah.
It has like, it's just a little part that kind of looks like Batmobile, and then like everybody, it's just easier to like say than like the whole abbreviation, because there's like some abbreviations that make sense to just refer to, like MOAM for measure of a man. Like people call it MOAM, I've heard, but like that one's an easy one to understand. But like Draco Malfoy and the mortifying ordeal of being in love is so long.
I'm super excited for that published though. Like,
I know.
see how it changes.
So excited. So excited for all of this, like Fics being published this year.
Yeah.
So excited.
Super excited. It's gonna be a good year. For sure.
I don't know if you guys saw whenever I mentioned it, but that the author of Measure of a Man did get like not a publishing deal, but they like signed on with the publishing company. I was like, I hope it's a rewrite of Measure of a Man, but
I hope so too.
That's not been confirmed or anything.
That was one of like my first like not really heavy fics.
Yeah.
Because I ended up taking like a maybe a 8 to 10 year hiatus on fanfic just because life. And Manacled was my first foray back in, and then I immediately tackled Greenlight.
Yeah, a lot of the highly recommended like Dramini fics do tend to be kind of dark, and that's just because of like a lot of them do feature Death Eater Draco and like kind of the ramifications of what him being a Death Eater kind of means. And so there are heavy themes surrounding this in general. So I do like give new readers like a little sign of caution, and that a lot of these like heavily wrecked ones are a little bit dark.
Yeah.
Like, just by nature. And so just to kind of prepare yourself to get into it. Because if you think you're like, oh, I'm just going into this happy little world of like Harry Potter fanfiction and there's nothing.
There are some of those.
That could go wrong. There are some. There are definitely some.
Like Love and Other Historical Accidents. Adorable. Like it's fluffy, it's fluffy, it's light, it's hilarious. It's like total rom-comming. Perfect.
There are tons of
Manacled Auction.
Yeah, there are tons of like very lighthearted ones as well. I just think if you're new into fan fiction and you're trying to foray into Dramini and you don't want something dark off the bat, you do kind of have to clarify. Like you have to say like, can we get something kind of light? Because especially fanfic readers, like you're kind of so used to like that kind of realm and stuff that like when people are like, oh, what's a good fic to get into, you're like, oh, this one. Like I'm love so bad
this
about one.
Wrecking the auction to everybody who starts. I don't know why. I'm just like, you have to read the auction.
It is a great story though. Like it will get you right into it. It's a little dark.
Yeah. Have you finished Right Thing yet?
Yes.
You did? Have you started Wrong Thing?
Mm-mm.
All the wrong things?
No.
Oh, did you like Right Thing?
I did.
Did you like
Yeah.
Do you wish you would have read it before
you read the author? I wish I'd read it in order instead of
That's how I read it in order.
Yeah.
I read it in order and it was really good. It was really cool to see like
the Easter eggs. I think the Easter eggs would definitely have been cooler if I had read all the right things. Read it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that and just the writing style too is so different.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like, I mean, like I can tell it's the same author, but like, I don't know. It's just, she did so good at like creating like that universe that's completely separate from everything else. It's like, how? Okay, whatever. This is why I have to take creative writing classes.
Yes.
Like I can't just do that on my own, but whatever. Okay, well, thanks guys for tuning in. I'm not really quite sure how to end this. At some point we will have some outro music, hopefully. Life has been crazy and we had to reschedule this like twice now. But anyways, I'm not sure when we'll post again, but keep an eye out for an announcement on that, and I will link all of our socials in the comments.
Bye, guys.
Bye.